Welcome to the Orange Hammer Podcast. My name is Corbett Storick. I've been a licensed general contractor for 8+ years, specializing in new construction, renovation, furniture building. I'm the son of an architect and an interior designer, and I've been surrounded in this industry since birth, watching all aspects from concept, design, build, punch list, and of course, all the problems that come up in between. In my time in Durham, North Carolina, I've noticed a significant gap in knowledge between homeowners who need work and the people who do the work. On this podcast, I hope to break down the process of homeownership from the perspective of both the homeowner and the contractor in an effort to help raise the knowledge of homeowners about their homes and the construction/renovation process. I hope you enjoy. If you're enjoying the Orange Hammer Podcast, or if you have a topic that you want covered, or have recently done a project, please contact the Orange Hammer Podcast. The Orange Hammer Podcast is on Instagram and Facebook. Please like and subscribe, share on whatever platform you're enjoying your podcast on. Also, check out our YouTube channel, The Orange Hammer. The Orange Hammer Podcast is proud to be brought to you by CRS Contracting LLC for all your construction and handyman needs, new buildings to renovations, furniture building, EV charger install, or even a TV mounted. You can call me, Corbett Storick. It'd be my pleasure to help you. You can find me on Instagram at CRS Contracting. WSDG, the Walter Storick Design Group, specialists in architectural and acoustical consulting. Check out WSDG.com. And Taylor Bragg, for all your artistic needs in all mediums. You can find her on Instagram at brag_about_art. That's brag, BRGG, with 2 G's. She's the fantastic artist behind the Orange Hammer logo, and she did my fantastic table painting of my podcasting table. The Orange Hammer Podcast is proud to be brought to you by Stacy Slone with Keller Williams Elite Realty, proudly serving the Durham and Triangle area for 25 years. Call Stacy at 919-972-1180. The Orange Hammer Podcast is proud to be brought to you by Rachel Z with Rachel Z Real Estate Team Realty. From the Triangle to the Triad, call Rachel Z at 919-323-6068. Welcome, everybody, to another wonderful episode of the Orange Hammer Podcast. Today, back in the studio, Stacy Slone, our wonderful sponsor, our in-house realtor, our new family friend, all of the above. I don't even know, so many titles. So it's awesome, as always, to have you back in the studio. How are you doing this morning?
I'm doing great.
How was your trip down memory lane earlier?
I know. Enjoyed it. I love, of course, I hate when people pass away and we have to go to these houses and do this, but this was a friend of mine, and I knew his mom way back, and so we were going down memory lane with some photos he found of us and of all the people that we hung out with, and it was just like I could have done that all day. Could have stayed there all day.
I feel like that, unfortunately, is going to be a lost art with how digital photographs are nowadays.
Yes, the fact he had the in hand in a package, we are not going to see that.
Yeah. Like making a photo album was almost its own thing. Like, yeah, okay, you take the pictures on your cruise or your vacation or whatever, and then it was like a whole thing you did, like either with your spouse or with your family or with your kids or whatever, and it was like, okay, I bought this empty photo album at Michael's and got these developed at Rite Aid, and what order do you want to put it? Oh, that's a terrible one, throw that out or whatever. And I know, like, my parents, my dad doesn't really care about this stuff, but my mom has tons of them from the years when photos were photos, and now it's
absolutely,
like, not to be morbid or whatever, but if we had one EMP, every hard drive's gone, and there's no more. All the pictures on Instagram, they're gone,
right,
forever,
right,
never to be recovered.
You're right, and for all the younger people out there, when they do get older, for Christmas took 95 pictures from my daughter's phone of her and her friends, of me and her, of family, of all that, and did a scrapbook where I had to go to, not Rite Aid, but Walgreens and get them done. Very cheap to do that. And she for a teenager to love this was pretty cool.
That's a big deal. Teenagers don't like anything.
Because a kid could tell me I've got 2,000 photos in my phone. Well, that doesn't do me anything. Or it's on Facebook or it's on Instagram. But she's got this book now and she loves it. And now she wants these little ones where the smaller. So all the younger people out there, they need to learn to go to Walgreens. Thank God they still do this, and send the photos and make memories that'll be in your hand, not in a phone.
My mom does a similar version where she doesn't have to go anywhere and she can still use everything that's digital, but I think it's through Shutterfly or Apple directly, but you can like send them all these pictures and they'll print this beautiful book. I have 2 or 3 of them on the shelf there. She's done them for, like, she gave me one when I graduated college.
No, those are wonderful.
Yeah, and at least you get the hardcover.
Yes, the calendars, I've done them. You order them. No, that's wonderful. I do enjoy stuff like that.
And I'm even worse when it comes to, like, having hard pictures. I'm the person who, like, takes the picture of I'll take a bunch of pictures on a vacation, and then at the end of the vacation, I'll get home, and then the next day, I'll put them on Facebook, I'll put them on Instagram, and then I delete them from my phone.
Yeah.
So my phone has like 25 pictures on it because it's just like the current work pictures, and then when that job is done, I put them in a folder on my computer, delete them from my phone. All my other friends are like scrolling through 20,000 pictures on their phone, and I'm like, how do you even know where anything would be? Like, what do you have the dates memorized of when you and that one friend got that ice cream cone you're trying to show me a picture of? Like, that's crazy. But everybody does it their own way. Anyway,
of course.
Before we get too sidetracked, this is one of the few and fun they're all fun. This is one of the few podcasts where we actually really have a topic that we mentioned when we looked at a house earlier, and we were like, this would actually be fun and super informative for the public, and I guess anybody who's new to realty or thinking about getting into the real estate game, because the world is changing.
Very much.
Very fast.
Yeah. And not so much changing, but it is in our world because the biggest thing that we have learned is social media. Boy, when they get a hold of one thing, they just take it and it just runs. And because you've got so many people out there, you're getting all this different information, and a lot of it is not true, and there's a lot that's true. So how do you decipher? So I've had to, with these changes, which I'll talk about here in a minute, but with these changes, I've had to learn to adjust and to go to meetings and to listen to our National Association of Realtors, and because that's who we go to hear what exactly is going on in the world. Let me take social media out and just let me talk to the association, and that's where we've been getting our information, which I feel now I'm more comfortable with it than I was a month ago. A month ago, we were all scattered and like, what the heck does this mean for our buyers?
Yeah.
The buyers are the big thing.
Yeah. So let's dive right into it. So there are a few changes that we need to detail, but I think also at the same time, we probably need to discuss what the old way was and see the change. So what are some of these huge changes that have happened?
So there was a lawsuit against a few sellers started suing because they felt like they were forced to pay a commission for not only their listing agent, but for the buyer's agent. So the customary across the country has been that the seller pays a certain percentage. So just to give an example, the average is 6%. Okay. The listing agent's going to keep 3% or whatever they decide to do, and they're going to give 3% to the buyer's agent. So they've got that 6% that they were paying. Well, now, because they have been in a lawsuit and everyone has settled, including a bunch of big companies throughout the country.
Big real estate companies?
Estate companies. The judge has now decided, and this will happen in July, that it hasn't changed because it's always been customary. I use that word customary because the seller could have said, you know what, I'm not paying that buyer's agent. And that would be more like a FSBO, right? A for sale by owner, that they were just selling their house and they're willing to pay an X amount, but they're not going to pay the full commission. Commissions aren't standard. They could go from 1% up to 7%, depending on where you're at in the country. So what happened was they are now saying that in our buyer's agency agreements, so let's say you're my buyer, okay, and we decide you want to purchase a property. Now, in my agreement, I need to put that there's a chance that you will be paying my commission instead of the seller, because now the seller is saying we don't want to pay that commission to the buyer's agent, and they're able to do that. They've always been able to do that. But again, I use that word customary because it's just been known that when I go to a listing agreement, I let you know this is what you're paying and this is what I'm paying out to the buyer's agent. Okay, that's in North Carolina. If you live in Texas, they don't have any buyer's agency agreements. Okay, so it's a lot different. We are actually protected in this state. Thank goodness we have the buyer's agency agreement. But what we've always told the buyer is, oh, we found it in MLS. They're willing to pay the commission, so we're good. You don't have to pay us anything. Well, now, starting in July, it's going to be that a seller can say, look, I know everything that's going on out there. I just want to pay you as the listing agent. I'm not going to pay a buyer's agent. Okay, so where does that money come from? Because we don't work for free, and I hope people understand. I think they're looking at it. I had one of my past clients say, I never liked paying the buyer's agent. Well, I found your house for you, and we went through 50 houses. You didn't live here. I had to do all the work for you, but you don't think a buyer's agent should get paid? Oh, well, I didn't look at it like that. So that's part of the problem, is that we're going to get flooded with people thinking, there's two things that's going to happen. People are going to think that we just open doors, and that's not the case, but a lot of people are going to think that. And the second thing is the sellers I'm concerned about, because if they don't work with a buyer's agent, that's less buyers that are going to come through their house for top dollar on their property. Like, wouldn't you rather have 50 people come in than 2, because you're not going to offer the services? And if a buyer's agent can't work for free, you're kind of, what do you do? How do you get into the house? So
it used to just be, just to like make sure I understand and recap a little bit, there was 6% of the sale price being basically, not always, but more or less chopped in half. 3% seller agent, 3% buyer agent. And the buyers are saying, I don't want to give that 3% to the buyer agent anymore.
Well, so not saying that, but there are some buyers that they don't have the money. They have just enough for a down payment, or they have just enough for closing costs with the down payment, or let's say they're getting 100% financing. They still have to pay closing costs, inspections, survey, whatever they want to. If they don't have the money to pay us, then who's gonna be able to represent them?
But this doesn't sound, obviously this is going into effect in July and this is all real and happening. But based on what you just said, this doesn't seem like it's a real estate agent's problem at all. If you don't have enough money to buy a house, don't buy a house. If you can't afford closing costs, which include 3% to the realtor who did all the work, then what are you doing? If you can't buy it twice, don't buy it. That's like Finance 101.
Okay, so if we calculated, let's just calculate. This is what the buyer's saying, okay? And you're right, but there are a lot of people that do want a house if they can afford the payments and they save up for that down payment, okay? I give a lot of people credit. They save up for their down payment. They have enough for their closing costs. So let's just say an average $300,000 house.
Yeah, sure. That's a realistic number in the triangle.
At 3%, you're asking them to give an additional $9,000. That sounds like a lot of money. I personally don't do that. I don't do 6%. I was just saying that's kind of customary. Let's go to 2.5%. 2.5% is going to be $7,500. Some people just don't have that money. And in that price point, they're probably having to save up, I don't know, like 20-some thousand. So to say, oh, by the way, you have to pay me $7,500, some are going to be able to do it and some aren't. And then some are going to say, gosh, I bought a house before. I never had to do that. And it's like, well, times are changing. But the thing is, we always had to ask for that money from our buyer. That's the thing. In our agency agreements, we should have been saying, hey, by the way, if I work with you and we find a for sale by owner and they don't want to pay me and you want me to represent you, we still have to have a percentage. I'm not saying 3. I'm not, it could go as low as 1, whatever. But we have to have something in place, and you just have to know there's a chance that you would be paying this. Seller can still pay the 6% commission. Seller can do that all day long. And I think what's going to happen is agents that are listing property, I've got 3 coming up now. I've let them know what the situation is. They want as many buyers in there as possible. They're willing to do the percentage to get this just like a standard regular, hey, we're having people come into the house, versus saying, no, I'm not gonna pay you. I'm not gonna pay the buyer's agent. So let them figure it out.
I got a bunch of questions. Okay. So let's first question. Let's live in a hypothetical. And let's say I want to sell this house right now. And obviously you're the first and only call I'm gonna make.
Thank you.
So you're gonna, if I want you to, quote, represent me, which means you're going to, do the following things and probably more. You're going to help me stage. You're going to take pictures. You're going to tell me, oh, you should probably, do this landscaping, or this is a minimum if you want this traffic. Get rid of these things out of the kitchen, buy lemons or whatever the secrets are, and do showings and listed on the MLS, right? So I'm now the seller, and I've got to give you 3%. Or yes or no, do I have to give you 3% if I am asking you to represent me as my realtor to sell my house?
Whatever our agreement is, yeah.
Okay, what is your agreement to sell houses?
My typical, so 6% is like customary across the states. I do 5%, okay? So I do take that point off. Done it for a long time, and I will continue to do that. But 5%, which means 2.5 is going to my side, but then 2.5 is going to the buyer's agent that's going to bring that buyer in. Kind of like when you purchase this house, the seller of this house paid me to represent you for you to purchase the house.
Yeah, I was gonna say, because I don't actually remember writing you a check.
No,
but obviously you got paid
haven't
for
had a buyer
your
pay me
right
forever.
Right. So because I haven't sold a house, I've just bought properties. The person selling the property has been basically paying the 5 or the 6%, and then it's getting split however it's worked out between you and the buyer agent, which there's, you two get together and figure that out. Maybe it's 4 and 1, or it's 2.5 and 2.5, or whatever. You figure that out. Okay. That clarifies that. Cool. How do you or I or anybody list a house for sale without an agent? How do I get it on the MLS?
Without an agent, you don't.
Oh, so if I want to sell my house
for sale by owner,
under the table, for sale by owner, whatever you want to call it.
Marketplace.
Right. So you put it on Craigslist? You put it on Facebook? You just put a for sale sign and hope people drive by? Okay. So,
or you pay a company, which is, there's a for sale by owner website out there.
Okay.
Not great, but you pay them and they will put it on there. So if someone's looking for a for sale by owner, it'll pop up. They're going to have to know your address to find it any other way. So, and they're not going to know that. So yeah, you could do a for sale by owner website.
Okay, next question. Could you do both? Could I hire you to sell the house and then do for sale by owner, and then depending on who buys the house, I either pay you or I don't?
If you did that, it wouldn't be a full service, right? So it would be just a percentage that you're paying me. I would put it in MLS, but then that's all I would do. So you would have that option to be able to talk to all the people that want to look at it, and I'm just putting it out there to all the websites so that they can see it's for sale, and then they call you directly. So yeah, you can do that at some people are doing it at 1%, less than that, some of them. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Okay.
I've never done it, but it's not impossible. I mean, yeah, you could do that.
So, and I guess I'm just confused because I don't do this every day. So just to clarify again, like in this when I bought this house, the seller paid all of that percentage. Mm-hmm. So the change is now that the buyer will have to start paying some of it, mm-hmm. and that is being determined by this aforementioned court case, this mm-hmm. lawsuit.
Right.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
And so I just don't get, like, if the seller is still paying the 6%, this is just saving the seller a little bit of money.
Yes. At this point, if they make the decision, hey, we don't want to pay the buyer's agent, then they're not paying 6%. Now they're down to whatever the percentages the listing agent is willing to do. However, that listing agent is now not going to represent the seller if a buyer comes in and wants to purchase the property. Now they're a dual agent. Now they're working for both sides, and they're going to want the listing agent's going to want a percentage for that too. So will the seller save a little bit? Yeah, but will it be a lot? No.
No. I mean, we're talking between 1% and 6% of an entire purchase price. This is not.
What if the house is $800,000?
No, obviously it goes up as it goes up.
Right.
Of course. I'm just saying this is not 35% and now it's 33%. Like we're again, if you can't afford it twice, you probably shouldn't afford it once, and that's just, general conservative financial advice.
Right.
Here's a disclaimer, not a financial advisor.
Yeah.
But still, you should be able to afford it a few times before you splurge on something, especially a house that's a couple $100,000.
Right,
this
right.
is a big deal.
And I look at it as a seller has always been willing to pay that amount. Okay, so a buyer, if they want all the things that we do to support them to get them to the closing table, I don't see why they wouldn't pay something, but there has been a lot of social media things that are, it's unfortunately, when July comes, it's going to be interesting to say the least, because even me sitting here talking about it, I don't know what's going to happen in July. It could be that all the sellers decide to say, we want to just keep it the way it is, and let's customarily get all the buyers that we can in the house and sell it at a good price,
I mean, isn't that what's happening anyway?
Well, some sellers, I was talking to a realtor friend the other day, and she said that her seller has decided to wait until after July to see how everything unfolds, meaning that they may not pay that buyer's agent's commission.
And they'll save 3%.
Yeah, they'll save 3. And then what's going to start happening for our world as realtors is the other big change is that in MLS, we see how much we get paid. So when you purchase this house, when you said, hey, I want to look at this house, it shows me what I would get paid on it. In July, gone. We will not know if a seller is paying the commission or not. So we're going to have to actually, say you want to look at 10 houses one day, I'm going to have to know if the buyer is willing to pay, well, then I'm good. Okay. But if they're not willing to pay, I'm going to have to see what sellers are actually going to pay and not pay. That's where it's going to really get tricky.
Because not that you don't want to do your job, but if you are being asked to go look at 10 houses and 5 of them are not going to pay you,
and the buyer can't pay me for whatever reason it might be.
Right.
How do I get paid?
And again, just because I'm still confused, the buyer can simply just choose, I do or do not want to pay.
Mm-hmm. And if they don't pay, then they have to go to the listing agent to actually get into that house. And that's where I'm saying I can't see where the seller is going to save a lot, because if that buyer goes to that, if I was the listing agent and a buyer comes to me and says, hey, since the seller's not paying, we need you to write the offer for us. Well, now I'm a dual agent, and that seller is going to pay me extra because I can't not get paid on both sides. Like, somewhere there's got to be a number that's going to work. And I guarantee there's going to be a lot of onesie, twosie people. Like,
what is onesie, two percentage?
Percentage of agents that will go out there and say, oh, I'll do all of it for $500 or something. That's where it's going to get really complicated. If our realtors start deducting a lot just to get a buyer in the door or whatever,
it's going to force an aggressive competition.
I'm afraid that it's going to force the seller to feel like, darn, I don't have to pay anything. I could just do what we're going to save lots of money here. But in the long run, it is confusing. Corbett, it's confusing for us too. We're not to July yet. So we're just like speculating things that'll happen, and social media tears it apart. And so all the consumers that are out there reading this, my brother, we never talk real estate, and he's in Pennsylvania, and in Pennsylvania they don't have to sell the mineral rights. You can buy a house up there, and the previous owner still owns the ground that you live on, which I think is crazy. And he's like, hey, so how?
Yeah, you ever see that show Gold Rush?
Yes.
Yeah, they never sell the mineral rights because they're like, you can do whatever you want, but the minute you find gold, it's mine, and it's like, whoa, bro.
How can that even be legal?
It's very legal.
I know it is, but it's like
timber rights used to be a thing. You can buy the land, but I get to harvest the wood in 20 years because I'm going to sell the 2x4s or I'm going to sell the logs to the 2x4 company. That was a thing.
I actually did that up in Yanceyville.
There you go.
And it took me a minute to figure it all out.
I had somebody, because you know I bought that land up in Hurdle Mills. I had somebody who was just like, dude, at your age, go plant 700 Japanese maples. And in 30 years, you'll be selling slabs of Japanese maple for 10 grand a pop. And I was like, I mean, conceptually, great idea, but not interested.
Yeah, but they are wonderful.
It's a real thing.
Japanese maples that is the only plant, tree, whatever, that I love to see when I go up to a house. That's it. Oh yeah, people love those things. But he was on to something.
No, I as I said just now, conceptually, I love the idea, but like I'm not about to be a tree plant farmer full time and like maintaining that and like, you know, building a deer fence or whatever I would have to do to like protect that investment. I'm sure it's not cheap to get those seedlings imported from Japan. Yeah. You know, but probably not. I would want to build a table out of that deep purple lumber once you rip a slab out of it. I mean, it's stunning. Yeah. And as a woodworker, I was like,
nice.
Interesting. Mm-hmm. And I do have a big empty field, but no. But, you know, it is an interesting thought. And then, you know, hypothetically, plant it, sell the land, and go, you can't harvest those trees. I got the timber rights.
Exactly.
But then it wouldn't be buildable because anyway.
True.
Yeah. So it sounds to me, even though it's probably annoying and scary to you as a realtor, it sounds to me you're going to have to basically step the game up to show why somebody would use you and want to pay for your services.
Absolutely. There you go. That's it right there.
Because I've had a lot of realtors on, and I usually end by saying, so why would I use you? Like, what's different between you and this other person and this other person and this other person? And I've had a bunch of realtors, and unfortunately, the answer is identical. Oh, I care more. And like, I mean, cool, maybe you do, but sounds like caring more is not going to cut it for 3% anymore. We're going to need to see, and I'm not, for the record, I am not implying at all that you don't show the hustle. This is just a general statement, but it sounds like we're going to need to see, like, why are you worth that 3% commission when because for good or bad, where I don't want to go down the direction of good or bad. I just want to go down the direction of this is the world we're in. You can basically see everything that's for sale online on one of 5, if not all 5 of these realtor websites, whatever they are, Redfin, Realty.com, blah, 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 blah.
Zillow, all those.
Exactly. Yeah. So obviously that's shooting the real estate agent in the foot, not, but it's the world we live in. So, have you put thoughts into like what's going to set Stacy Slone of Keller Williams apart from everybody else?
Yeah, and I'm surprised the other realtors had that same answer, because depending on how long you're in the business, my thing is my history. I've got so many clients that come back to me because I did what was needed to get whatever the job done and get us to the closing table. The other thing I would say is, for me, I'm just going on my own, what I'm going to tell people as we start moving forward with this is I have been in the business a long time. 26 years is a long time to go from the changes that have been made to current time. I've seen the interest rates high, I've seen them super low, and now I've seen them where they're at right now. I navigate you through that whole process of, okay, now they're 7.5%,
Are they 7.5 right now?
Yeah, unless you put a big chunk of money down. I just closed someone on Friday that she got 6.1 because she put down a lot of money. But
what's the highest interest rate you've ever seen?
Me, when I've been in real estate?
At all, period. Ever in the history of your life?
Well, I was a kid, but my mom paid 15%.
Interest?
Yes.
On a mortgage?
On a mortgage. But the house was also, it was in the 80s, and it was also like $24,000. So, but yes, that was 15, and I've heard people say they were as high as 18%. Whew. Could you imagine in today's world paying 18% on a house that was even $200,000?
Stacy, I can't imagine paying 6.1%? Yeah, I'm locked in at like 3.25%, and I'm like,
I am too, actually. 3.25%, and but my first house was 7%.
That's close to today.
Back in the 90s, that was my first house, and then I was able to refinance for 5%, and so that was great. But then my last house was 3.2 or something, and so I'm locked in, and I'm like, I'm not going to move to pay a higher interest rate. So a lot of people are sitting. However,
what you just said is a big issue. A lot of people are sitting, which as a buyer, you're seeing a significant lack of inventory, and then as a realtor, that's affecting. Your bottom line is based on how many houses you can move, whether you're buying or selling. You got to move them. You got to move them. You got to move them. So if all of a sudden 700 people are like, you know what, I love my interest rate. I was going to move, but I don't want to get rid of 3.25% for 5. So I'm just going to chill and maybe take a home equity line and put on that extension. You now have nothing to buy and nothing to sell.
Right.
And that's crazy.
And think about the people that bought in 2020 to 2023. We were doing competing offers, 50,000 over, 100,000 over.
It's insane.
So those people have really nice interest rates, but if they were to turn around and try to sell it, they're going to lose money because they paid too much for the house.
And not just lose money where, oh, that sucks. This is like lose real money. Like you lose aggressive amount. Yeah.
And the only reason someone would sell for that situation is a job or something happened. And unfortunately, we've got lots of things that will affect to where the inventory is still going to come through. Death, divorce, job relocation, like those are the big ones that you will always see.
But it's still got to be, or I'm assuming it's got to be lower than if we had a better interest rate.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yes, absolutely. No, it's lower because you're right. Those people are sitting there. Like where I'm at now, even with where you're at now, your house is a lot more valuable than it was when you purchased it.
Yeah, but it's a fake value. It's a false value because I can't buy this exact house on this exact land for what I can sell this exact house on this exact land for.
That's right.
I would have to take a significantly crappier home or pay significantly more for the exact replica or move, you know, I'm 10 minutes from downtown. I'd have to move 40 minutes from downtown.
Right.
And all three of those suck. So like it's
Right.
a false, the only way it would not be a false profit would be for me specifically because I'm thinking about or I'm planning on building a new home. So, but that's literally the minority. That's less than the minority. Most people are like, no, I'm not building a home. I don't know what I'm doing. I'm not a contractor. And even if I was, I'm not about to do that right now. It takes 2 years and blah, blah, blah. And honestly, for me, I would need to sell the house first. So I'd have to live on the street for like a year until I built a home, which is not possible, you know? So it's still kind of like a false money profit of the home, the value of the home.
It is. Yeah, my situation's different because if I were to sell my house today, it's worth almost triple what I paid for it, which is amazing to me. My neighbor put their house on the market. I looked at the price. I was sticker shocked. Like, really? And they're under contract. I was shocked.
As a realtor, you were shocked,
location.
Really?
It's all about location. But yes, I was
obviously
shocked.
Don't give it out to the ethos of the internet, but like approximately where are we talking about?
Out in North Durham, Orange County.
Oh, okay.
Orange County, North Durham.
Are you technically still in Durham?
My address is Durham, but I have but it's Orange County taxes that I pay. So
how does that work?
Because it's right on the line. There's a line that goes from Hillsborough to Durham, and I'm right on it. So I'm a Durham.
How is your address not in an Orange County municipality if you're in a Durham? Like if you need a building permit, you got to go to Durham?
No, it's Orange County. I go to Orange County.
But
so,
the mail truck
like my
comes
daughter,
from Durham.
No, it's Orange County. It's
so it
not
just
Durham.
happens to say Durham on your address?
Well,
I'm confused.
There's I don't know how it works, but there are certain lines in every city that you cross over. And for some reason, this was Orange County for many, many years, but they had a Durham address. I don't know why, but yeah. So I've got a 27705 zip code. And I'm in Orange County where my daughter has to go to the Orange County schools.
And you got to pay Orange County higher taxes and Orange County higher electric bill.
Yeah.
Are you on Piedmont or Duke?
Duke Energy. Yeah.
You're lucky. Unfortunately for me, I have to do Piedmont.
Up in Hurdle Mills,
Yeah, which for those who don't know is like a co-op, and they buy the juice from Duke and then they just sell it for slightly more money. And that all sucks, but the benefit is their customer service is unparalleled. It's like you call a number, you actually get somebody who picks up from this country who's like, "Hi, this is John. How can I help you?" And they help you the next day. Like so that part is like, okay, I guess, but there's also no other option.
Right. Right.
What are you gonna do?
But for my situation, the house for me and my daughter is just too big. I mean, it's too much. I'm on 3 acres. I have people that come and do stuff because I don't do it. I do a little stuff outside.
So for you, it's not a false profit because you're downsizing.
Exactly. Right. And so because it has gone up in value so much, I can go find something at a decent rate and not have to, I'll still have money in the bank. So for me, it would be a good option. I could still pay that high. Well, I wouldn't have much of a mortgage. Let's put it that way. If a mortgage. So that's the benefit to me. But I also love where I live. So I'm like, I'm okay with just staying here until we see where things actually do go. Because the interest rates are not going to go higher, just so you know. I'm putting that out there that if you read the news or if you watch the news and listen, they're not doing anything to them right now. They're waiting for inflation to come down, which is insane right now as far as where we're at with everything. You can't go to the grocery store without spending way too much money on the necessities, So I feel for people that that are having a tough time with this. And so I'm just hoping there's some relief down the road. There's got to be. Yeah. And that's when our interest rates will start coming down.
What things are you hearing that makes you believe that they're going to come down?
just what I said with the inflation. They're waiting for the one thing is they're not changing the interest rate. They're not going to go up. So where we're at the
So
7,
who's the they, and where'd you hear
the
that?
federal, the where did I hear on the news?
No, I'm just curious for more details, because I've had so many lenders on here, and they're always like, we don't know, we'll never know, it's not predictable.
No, you're right. Yeah. It's not.
But you're calling the shots.
But I'm not saying, like, I truly believe. Okay, then this is just my belief. Listening to them on the news, it sounds like, because the Feds met again yesterday and they didn't change anything. And bottom line is, they were saying that they are waiting to see where the inflation crisis goes. So if we can get that resolved, that's what I'm trying to say. We can get that part resolved. Now, if inflation starts like going skyrocket, even worse than we're at, yeah, I guess the interest rates could go up. But if they unchange them, then we're steady with where we're at right now.
Okay, so
that is me saying that
we're amending this to Stacy's thoughts and a bunch of ifs. Okay,
let's amend that.
Yeah. I'm just saying, because like I would love to know the source you're quoting of how that they're, because you just said they're not going up. I know it. And I'm like, okay, that's awesome, but how do you know that? Who at the Fed do you know? Yeah,
I'll tell you. I am Miss
James, middle name redacted, told me. Yeah,
that's funny. I am Miss Positivity when it comes to all this crap that we're dealing with. I have my realtor friends that call me and say I'm scared to death. I don't even know what I'm going to do. And reality is, right now, my realtor friends, some of them, are getting part-time jobs just to survive. That's how it really is affecting us on every level.
Willie Barron here, studio dog, coming to say hi.
He's saying hi to us. But it's interest rates on top of the just everything going on with the Association of Realtors and things. So we've got a lot going on, but I just feel like there's got to be some relief down the road. And I don't think it's a road that's 5 years down the road. I truly believe it's going to be something that we can get through, let's just say in the next 1 to 2 years. You know? So if a realtor can stick it out, because people will still need to sell, people will still need to buy. And I don't think that a lot of the buyers, I think there's going to be a lot of talk after we start going to this new way of doing real estate. And the more they talk, the more the buyer's going to understand where we're coming from with whatever we have to do. Again, a buyer may get out and not have to pay a dime to us because the seller's willing to pay on the house that they really want. So
a seller would agree to pay the full 6% out of the necessity to get the house sold quick?
Yep.
Okay.
Yes.
So
and
if a
seller, they have the equity in the house, okay? So if they have the money to do it, right?
Okay. Because for a second I was like, why the hell would I sell this house and agree to pay more money? But I get it. If I really need, if I have the equity, one, that makes sense. And then two, if I'm like, okay, I need this house sold yesterday.
Right.
Let's get all hands on deck, and I'm willing to pay for those hands.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Okay. So if I'm selling a house, what's your opinion on staging?
Oh, for staging, depends on the house. Depends. Okay. You got a small living room, and I can't figure out where someone's furniture is going to go. If it's vacant, I'm going to put furniture in it. In fact, I'm getting one staged, new construction, and yet the living room, dining room is a trigger for me. Like, I can't figure out, someone's going to have a hard time. Where's their TV going to go? Mm-hmm. So they're putting up a fake TV with some furniture to kind of show how it can be laid out. So,
who pays for that?
I do.
Okay.
I pay all the marketing stuff. I don't ask you to pay for anything. Like,
so that's part of the reason why you need 3%. You're paying for that.
Well, yes. I mean, the seller's always going to pay something. The question is going to be, are they going to pay the full percent so that we can pay a buyer's agent?
Oh, right. As a seller, it's not in question that you're going to get paid as a seller.
Yeah,
agent. That part's locked. Okay. Right. See, I'm asking a lot of questions that listeners are like, she just said this 20 minutes ago.
No.
I'm just trying to process it all myself, because I've bought and sold a lot of land, properties with you, but you're my gal.
And,
you deal with this.
Right. But you know what? You guys have sold with me too, but you just haven't really, like, the paperwork is that 5% has always been in there.
Yeah.
So I probably shouldn't throw out the numbers like that, because I can charge whatever I want if you're going to pay it. You know, there's some agents out there getting 7%, which blows my mind, and congrats to them, but I do already feel like I'm getting paid a nice amount for what we do, which is a lot. And yes, I take care of all the marketing. So when we put Guthrie on, I'm just going to give an example. Sure. I made sure I had professional floor plan, professional pictures, out on 80 websites, paid for the extra website with your address, and then made sure we negotiated and did everything that you didn't have to do.
Yeah. But also, we, as the sellers, we were never not prepared to give you what it costs to,
right.
Like, we were like, we are hiring you for your services. Yeah. It's like, my tile guy doesn't tile for free or right. expect the person to expect the tenant who's going to use the tile to give him 1% of the fee. Like, obviously right. that's a stupid example, but it's actually not that stupid of an example. It's like, it's like, if I needed the tile guy to do the tile work, I don't right. wait for the house to be sold with the new tile and then the person who bought the house to give $500 to my tile guy because right. it's half of what it should be. Like, that doesn't make any sense.
It doesn't make any sense. And so
as a buyer, as a seller's agent, nothing's really changing.
Well, yeah, if I'm a listing agent, nothing's changing except for, does that seller, are they willing to pay the full commission or just my commission? And
okay.
And if that changes with, you know what, Stacy, we just want to pay yours and we don't want to deal with the buyer's agent. Well, then I've got more work to do, because you're going to have, let's say this is a very popular house and 20 agents want to see it. And the MLS says nothing about my commission, nothing. 20 agents are going to call me and say, is your seller paying the commission? If I say no,
19 of them are not going to show up.
Or 15.
Right,
or
whatever.
8, whatever it might be. So that's where the seller is kind of cutting showings on their house that they really want to get sold.
So you have to now you have to, like, okay, so let's be clear. You did nothing sneaky. But I didn't know that agents get 6% when I bought my house. I had no idea. It was just, I went to closing and here's what the lawyer gets paid and here's this and here's that and bring your checkbook. And I was like, okay, cool. I mean, we're doing it.
Right.
But I didn't know. So it sounds to me.
You didn't know that I was getting paid by the seller?
I didn't know how any of it worked. Is
right.
what I'm trying to say. It was not, as somebody who I was like, yes, I want to buy the house. Nobody explained how it was going to work at all. And again, this is not putting you down. You did nothing sneaky. Everything was wonderful. I'm at a 100% satisfaction rate. What I'm getting at is that it sounds like there's going to have to be a really clear upfront conversation.
Yes. Bingo.
Like, hey, I can sell your house, but I need to know, am I getting 3% or are you willing to do the 6%, because 3% goes to a buyer's agent and that's going to get you 84% more foot traffic and therefore 84% more eyes and the potential of 20% people having a bidding war. And if you don't want to pay that 3%, you lose all these eyes, all this foot traffic. And you have option A and option B, and option A is you're going to pay 3% more to the buyer's agent, but we could sell it for over asking super fast, or I'm going to make my same 3%, but I'm going to have to work 20% harder for you, and you're going to get 80% less eyes, and this could sell below asking in 6 months instead of above asking in 1 week.
Right.
So that sounds to me like that's the main change, is that conversation's going to have to just be like really point blank in a seller's face. What do you want to do? How quickly do you need this sold?
Yeah.
Can you spare the 3% or not? Because I'm still willing to do it, but if you're not willing to shell out the full 6%, here's the repercussions. Yeah.
And I don't want to say it like that, because then it sounds like you're forcing the seller to pay the full amount.
Of course, you're going to do it much nicer.
Yes. And it's going to be more, factual of as we go, like the first year of doing this. I'm going to know.
Yeah.
I'm going to let you know this is what's happened or this is not what's happened.
Yeah, when next July, when you have 12 months of data, you can be like, look,
exactly.
The people who pay the extra 3%, they are making it back because the houses are selling above asking and they're selling in a week, and you're not paying for a house to sit empty for 3 months and pay the electric bill. And here's the 12 months of data to show that. Or you can still do the only 3% to me, and the 12 months of data is showing that these houses are sitting for 3 extra months because agents are like, well, I'm not going to do it for free, so why bother?
Right.
And this, that, and the third. And so once it goes July, you said? Mm-hmm. Yeah, so once it goes into effect, you won't really have anything to say other than this is our guess, and then you have to wait for data to roll in.
Yeah, exactly. And data will roll in because everyone's still going to sell their houses, and whether I'm selling it or someone else is, that we'll get that. So the reason why, though, just so you know, that we didn't talk about a commission is because, again, you were buying the house, but you weren't paying the commission. The lender always gives your breakdown of what your closing costs would be, which is the attorney, the inspections, whatever. So this is what's going to be the biggest difference for me as a realtor. My buyer's agency agreements, I haven't had to talk about, hey, by the way, you need to pay me, unless someone is calling me and it's a for sale by owner and I got to figure it out. I got to figure out something. They're few and far between. I haven't had to do that for a whole lot. So when you say, you didn't know, that's where my change is. Oh, that's where we're all going to have to change. I'm actually going to, for the buyer, that is going to be the biggest thing I talk about with them. I'm representing you, but here's what I'm doing. But there's a chance you may have to pay whatever the percentage is. That's going to be the biggest. To me, I feel like I can deal with the seller more. It's the buyer that I have to convince it's worth it to pay me, and I'm not saying pay me gold, I mean, I'm going to be there just like with all the other realtors around here. So if you're comparing me to someone else that's I just had a friend, he found an agent down at the beach on Zillow, and he's used to working with me, where I sold his first property to him like probably 12 years ago or whatever. And the first thing I said to him was, well, do you know how long they've been in the business? No, I'm not sure. Okay. Because he said, things aren't going right. Things aren't going right. And I was like, well, how long? Come to find out, they've been in the business for 2 years, but they've only done 2 transactions. You could say,
this is a side hustle for them.
Yeah, I could say I'm in the business for 26 years. Oh, but I've only done 20 houses.
Yeah.
I
mean, you've done thousands.
Yeah, no, actually, though, I've done like 650 or something.
Okay, well, that's still a lot.
To me, it's a lot. Yeah,
hundreds is enough.
For the first 9 years, I was working for someone else, so you can't even see what I've done before the 600. But
really? So, that's how that, like, in your 650 that you're
me.
Those first 9 years. Mm-hmm. So it could be over 1,000.
It could be, probably. Yeah. That I've been involved in some sort of way. Yes, over 1,000 for sure, with being a part of some sort of transaction.
So when you were the buyer's agent when we bought this house, because you were my agent.
Yeah,
when I bought this house.
I was just selling, listing and selling. Yep.
Right, but you got your 3% out of the 6% from who sold the house.
It was actually 2.4. I remember that for some reason because the agent was a Raleigh agent. She wasn't local. Well, Raleigh's local, but Raleigh and Durham have different commission sets. It's really kind of...
Who sets it?
Anyone, all of us. If I wanted to say I'm doing a 5% listing, okay, when I do listings, I always split it down the middle. A lot of agents will take more if they're listing because they're paying for the photography, the floor plan, the whatever. I don't do that. It's like flat because I guess my whole thing is as a listing agent, I do a lot of work and I spend a lot of money. But as the buyer's agent, you could have shown them 100 houses. Like, I think you deserve the same amount that I'm getting, because either it's going to be that you've looked at one. How many houses did we look at?
Honestly, I was about to detail that whole part of why like you said, you were already getting it covered because this new thing wasn't in effect.
Right.
But if you had come to me when we finally got this house and you were like, okay, so by the way, 2.4% is coming out of your pocket.
I wouldn't have done that though.
No, I'm just for an example.
You know way ahead of time.
Of course you would. I'm just trying for listeners to say an example.
Yep.
We looked at well over 25 houses over several months.
Yeah, sure.
In August.
That's typical for us.
That you drove us around on your gas, I might add.
Yes. With
me and a girlfriend at the time. Mm-hmm. I mean, you put in the work.
Absolutely.
Like it's not like it's not like I just emailed you a Zillow listing and then you got a door code. Like, we did some stuff. You printed out 31 sheets, and I was sitting shotgun, skip, yes, okay, let's go. Type it in that, let's go. And we'd look at it and tore POSs and tore stuff I couldn't afford. And, and then this one fell out of the sky, but that's beside the point. Yeah. So, like, that is probably something that a lot of people don't realize when you see 20 seconds of a TikTok video of how this transaction. Oh my God, we found this house. It's beautiful. I love it. Great. Done. Yeah. All of the legwork is not in that TikTok video. No. There's all of the hunting that you do. And then forget about that. Once we found this, the work wasn't over. You had to do inspection reports, appraisals.
Yeah. Keep up with everything for your lender. I remember what you were going through with that. And
I had to get my parents to co-sign, which had a bunch of other paperwork. They fortunately for me, I didn't need money from them, but I just was like fresh out of college with no freaking work history. Oh, I have work history, but it's self-employed work history, which is basically useless as far as lenders are concerned. So I was like, hey, I need no money. Can you just sign on this dotted line? And they were like, sure. But even our lender was like, oh, we need 7 years of tax returns from your parents. And I was like, are you joking? You're like, seriously? Like, for $130,000 loan on a $175,000 house? I mean, we could buy it they could buy it in cash 11 times if they wanted to. It didn't matter. Regulations are regulations. But there, and then you found us a closing attorney, and then you were here with me while they were doing the inspection. I remember we sat on the staged couch and he did his thing, and then
we do walkthroughs, and we do go to the closing with you, and we do the deadlines, and we so much.
Yeah, you bought me a $50 gift card to get paint for the kitchen. Yeah.
Yeah, see?
I remember that. Yeah. I tell everybody that.
That's
I'm like,
funny.
We walked in and it was school bus yellow, and we both went, that's the ugliest freaking wall color I've ever seen.
I love the kitchen now.
Thank you. I think it's Dover gray or whatever. But
I love the whole kitchen period.
Oh, well, yeah, I've done a lot. I've done a lot of redoing to that kitchen. I mean, for the record, when we got it, it had no backsplash. It had a crappy 2-bowl sink.
And a wall right there.
It had a faucet that wasn't tall enough.
Yeah.
It had a closet instead of an island.
Right.
And it was school bus yellow.
Yeah.
It had single pull knobs. Now I've got like nice handles, stone countertop, real backsplash,
very nice.
Big sink, ripped out the whole closet, put in an island. All the appliances broke, and I replaced them all to match.
Gosh.
The faucet's new. I mean, basically under cabinet lighting got added. I mean, basically everything you can do except for the cabinets.
Yeah.
Which part of me is like, I know a lot of really nice cabinet painters. Maybe I'll just get them painted real quick.
Yeah.
But also, I like the dark wood, so for me, it would be useless to do. But it was like the sweetest thing ever that I did not expect. I got like a congrats on your first house card from you, and you put a $50 Visa gift card, and you wrote, go buy yourself 2 gallons of paint. And I did it that week. I was funny. Like, all right, clean the wall, tape it off, let's go. Yeah. And I think I've still got leftover paint over there.
Oh, that's funny.
But
that is everything we do.
Yeah, it's a lot.
So
Yeah.
when I go to split that commission, no matter what the commission is, I always, because I feel like that buyer's agent is doing just as much as I am. We are just doing it at different times. If you're listing a house, but she probably showed 50 houses to someone. So, a lot of agents don't feel that. They want their money for what they spend on the house. I get it. We'll go to a closing and I'll see such a drastic, like, they paid out this, but they got so much more and they took that part. That's just not my policy. I don't work like that.
And that's
but
just determined by you?
Yep.
And like this is just your moral code.
Our commissions are not set by anyone. No one.
So if the 5
you and your
versus
client.
the 5 versus it can go up to 7, you said?
Yeah.
So the 5% is determined by you as what, a competitive edge, or like why aren't you higher?
Because there was a time where it was 6%, and then someone at a closing said, wow, you guys get paid this much for, and again, they thought we just opened the door. That was it, right? So I don't know, there was a time where I just, for my repeat clients, wanted to give a discount, I guess, because they came back to me. Well, then I didn't think it was fair to do it for one and not for the other. So I kind of got to that level and felt comfortable feeling like I was still getting getting paid for what I felt like I was worth. Some people say, oh, I wouldn't discount or whatever because they're not going to give you the service that you need. No, absolutely not true. If I never look at the MLS to see what I'm getting paid on it. I could be getting paid on I've shown you 50 houses and they were all at 3% and then this one's at 2%. I'm not going to say, oh no, don't go. I don't care. It's like, that's what I'm going to get paid and we're done. So I feel like I am so fortunate to have done what I've done all these years and made the money that I have, being in I couldn't have done this as a secretary, or not saying that that's a bad thing, but there was a time where I was a secretary, business management, and I wasn't my own boss. I wasn't an independent contractor, and so there are benefits to being your own boss.
Yeah, and you feel that all those benefits outweigh the potential of extra
needing
percent.
1%, like, yeah, and honestly, it's competitive out there. So my saying that I'm going to be at this level and staying up there, that could have been less deals for me for new people I was interviewing with for listings. And so I've always told people, yes, I do the discount, but you're still going to I'm not going to charge you if I have to stage your house or for all the regular things, which is floor plan, pictures, all that stuff. I'm not going to charge more. It's going to be where it's at. Some people take the higher commission and then don't do any of that stuff. Where does that come from?
There's every level at every point.
Level.
There are realtors who go the extra mile and probably do it for 4%, and then there's realtors who go the extra mile and want the full 7%, and then there's realtors who do nothing for the full 7%, and realtors who do nothing and they do it for 3%.
Right.
So I'm sure there's every level at every level.
Yep.
I was just really curious about, it sounds to me, if I could simplify it, that it's just your personal ethics and moral code that's like 5%'s fine. I'm going to split it in half because I didn't work that hard on this one, but I'm going to work really hard on the next one, and it equals out, and there you go.
I'm just on the same playing field, just going straight across, and it has gotten me through my business, and I'm good with that.
Is that something you advertise? Like, hey,
no.
on Stacy.com, I'm 5%, not 7%, save 2% with me?
No.
I've
thought about that. Like, how would you? No. I get word of mouth, or I get, hey, I saw your reviews on Zillow and we'd like to talk to you about listing the house. When I get to their house and I talk about the percentage, I let them know at that point. So no, I don't. Fortunately, I haven't had to do that. I mean, maybe one day I'll do it, but right now I don't advertise that.
And so come July, are you going to just have your kind of pre-rehearsed speech of like, these are the new rules, so I need to let you know that like, if you want me to sell it, it's basically option A, option B, and if you want me to be your buyer's agent, then you need to know that there's a chance that I'm not going to get it from them, which means you're going to have to give it to me.
Right, which will be in the agreement, the buyer's agency agreement. Again, I've always put in there that the seller is going to pay unless it's a for sale by owner, then we need to discuss the amount. So that gives them the upfront, but now it's going to be, gosh, it's a free for all. It could be, I show you 3 houses and all 3 don't want to pay the commission. So we need to talk about that.
Yeah.
And then what I do is, this is really important too, do a net sheet for the buyer. We've always done it for the seller so that they know exactly what they're going to get at the bottom. Buyer, not so much, because the lender usually, unless they're paying cash is a lot cheaper to buy. But
that's rarer these days with inflation. No one has any money.
Yeah, so it's kind of, but with the buyer now, we can do a net sheet and we will incorporate the what if. Here's where it's at. Here's your bottom line number. Can you afford it?
Yeah.
And they're going to say yes or no.
I suggest you put it in a different color when you make this sheet.
Yeah.
Just because I'm listening to this going like, I would glance over that, not notice it, and then when we're actually writing checks, I would be like, what? You never told me. And you'd be like, no, it's right here at the bottom. Put it in blue. Yeah. Put it in red. Bold it or something. Right. I'm just trying to think of like ways everybody can know everything up front, because it is, for people who don't do it every day, which is everybody buying a house because they're not their own realtor.
Right.
Even with somebody like you who is articulate and upfront, it does feel like a fire hose of information.
It's a lot of information. Hose, but here's where the fire hose is going to get crazy, is when buyers are sitting there at dinner talking, and this buyer has put an offer in with an agent that they have to pay whatever it might be. And this buyer is sitting here, oh gosh, we bought a house last month and the seller paid for it. Then here's the conversation of, wow, I wonder if we picked a different house that the seller, would we save $7,000 or whatever it might be. So those conversations are going to be flying around. It's going to be an interesting end of the year kind of thing.
Yeah, it's the same type of conversations that are happening now. When never in my 33 years did I think it would be an interesting conversation to discuss our interest rates.
Yes.
And now it's like my
few
other friends who own a home, because most of my buddies are renting, will be like, oh yeah, you're locked in to 3.7. That's cool. And it's like, that's not cool. We're our dorks. Like, why are we not talking about sports? Like, what is happening? Oh, 3.25. You're lucky. Like, it's ridiculous. Like, this is a normal conversation now.
Is funny.
Yeah, it's so silly. It's like, tell me you're an adult without telling me you're an adult.
I know. My world is real estate, right? But I swear, every time I hear about people having conversations at dinner about real estate, and it's just funny because I'm like, I'm in it, but I don't know if I was not in it, I'd be talking about probably something else. But some people are so fascinated with it. Some people go on Zillow and look for their house, like they're constantly online, and when we're at the closing table, they'll say, what do I do now? Because I really enjoyed looking at houses and all that. I mean, people still go to open houses just to go, not because they're buying a house, but
they hope there's a free cookie,
or maybe, or good treats of some sort.
Though I feel like that world is closing as well. I feel like all the margins are so tight that like the come to the open house with free sandwiches, or come to the open house and there's like a jar of lemons for smells. I feel like all of that is I only see it on TV. I've never seen it in real life.
Yeah. Oh, it happens. No. Oh yeah. No, sometimes we put a good spread out.
Yeah. Like that scene. Did you ever see that movie I Love You Man?
Oh yeah.
Yeah, where he first meets him and he's like, full disclosure, I have no interest in buying this house. And he's like, oh, why are you here? And he's like, for the divorcees and the flatbread panini sandwiches. And he's like, he leans in and he's like, thank you for eating. And he's like, yeah, the pesto is delicious. Where'd you get that?
That's funny.
And I'm like, that's hilarious. Like
that is
Jason Segel's character, I've said for a long time that not Jason Segel, but Jason Segel's character in that movie, combined with not Nick Offerman, but his character Ron Swanson from Parks and Rec.
Oh yeah,
If you put them together, that's my spirit animal. And when I tell people that, they're like 100%. And I'm like, yeah, sometimes you need to be silent and woodwork, and sometimes you got to go under a boardwalk and just scream.
That's funny.
You need to be both. You need to be both. Yeah, absolutely.
In that one, he put the billboard up, right?
Yes, he puts up all those billboards for Paul Rudd, and it's like him as like in a Speedo, or it's like Jason Segel like, who's the best realtor? And then across the street, I am, bitch. It's like, or like he does the James Bond pose, and it's just like, and then he gets like he like yells at him for doing that, and then of course he gets like a zillion voicemails because it
worked out.
Yeah.
But he was so mad at him because he was very conservative and
and he also lent him money, and he didn't tell him that that's what the money was for. And of course it worked and blah blah blah. But for those who haven't seen the movie, spoiler alert, but it's 15 years old, so
but it's a great
very
movie.
Funny. Oh, it's
it
hysterical.
Is so funny. Yeah.
Paul Rudd is a national treasure.
He is my favorite.
Yeah, he's so funny and somehow doesn't seem to really age. I know there's Hollywood makeup and whatever, but like,
I know
whatever his diet is working.
It's working.
Yeah.
And I've seen him in so many things. Anchorman might be my favorite.
So funny.
Being funny, the whole funny thing. But he's been in so many of my favorite movies. But
it was so clutch for Ant-Man. He brought like just the right amount of comedy, but was still like superhero enough. And it he's like the least hero-y hero because he's like he's like an ex-con, and he's not like Thor jacked and all that, but like he got in shape, and it worked. Like the comic relief was perfect.
It was that was a really good movie.
I liked him all the way back in Clueless.
Yeah, that's right. He was the stepbrother. That's right. Yeah.
And I mean, hell, Freaks and Geeks was very good, and he was in that as well.
Okay, I haven't seen that one. So I guess you caught me. I guess I need to see Freaks and Geeks.
To be fair, I didn't see it when it came out. I saw it over a decade later when it moved from to cult classic.
When did it come out? 80s, 70s, or 90s?
Probably before 2000? I was born, actually. Now that I think of it, I might have to look it up.
Okay.
It's Seth Rogen, Paul Rudd, James Franco, Jason Segel, and
it was probably in 2000s then.
But this is like their first anything, and they're high school kids, and they look like high school kids. And so it's probably the 80s.
I'll have to check it out.
But it was I mean, obviously we're a different generation, but we still all grew up and went through high school and had like bullshit problems that aren't really problems. It's relatable because it's just like the life of high school drama, but very, very funny.
Okay. I'll have to look that one up.
Somehow Seth Rogen looks the same age.
Really?
He looks 40 in that show, and he looks 40 now. I don't know how.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, it's very funny.
It is amazing. Just there's several out there that are like, when are you going to age? Because you look perfect right now.
Yeah, that's crazy.
Yeah. Yep.
No. So are there any other changes coming in July, or is that the one and the only?
Yeah, the two for us is that MLS will be you will not allowed to put commission in there. So we've always
so the altering of the percentage, and then the actual MLS website where you can see like this house is 300,000 and I get X amount as a real. That's just being deleted.
It's gone. Yeah, it will be gone in July. Yeah.
What's the reasoning on that?
I have no idea, and we still can't get that one answered. Like, what is the point? Because for us, it's going to be even harder now to determine who's paying what. But they're calling it an antitrust, that we shouldn't be in our MLS system. We shouldn't be showing each other what the seller's going to pay the buyer's agent, because it'll say listing agent, buyer's agent, and it'll have a percentage, so you know what each person's getting. Now, I can put 0 in there for me so that they don't know what I'm getting paid, but I have to put in what the seller's gonna pay the buyer's agent.
And the concept is that if you listed it after July, people would just not go look at houses where they weren't going to get paid. So they want people to not know and just keep going to houses as if they were going to get paid.
No, I think what they're trying to do is say you have to have that buyer's agency agreement in place, and it has to have a percentage in there that they are willing to pay, no matter whether if the seller's going to pay, great, you don't have to pay it. If the seller's not going to pay, you have to pay that. That, I think, is what they're trying to do, is make sure because right now, as an agent myself, I don't put a lot of emphasis on that part because the seller has always paid. That's the bottom line, is the seller is always paid. So why would I freak my buyer out and say, hey, by the way, you may have to pay me this, if I already know 20 of the houses that they're going to look at they're going to tell me what they're paying us. So, so that's where it's going to be an uncomfortable conversation for me and a million other agents out there. And it's a lot of buzz right now. So, things are changing. We thought the interest rates were a big deal, but now we have the interest rates being high and we have to deal with this.
Are you going to have to, obviously it would be unfortunate, but are you going to have to decline potential clients if they're not going to pay you?
It's not going to be just declining them. Yeah, if someone's not going to pay me, I can't do this. There are times we do it for free. I don't know if people realize this, but a buyer could go under contract and the closing doesn't happen for whatever reason, and then they may say, you know what, we're just going to rent for another 3 years or 2 years or whatever. Then we did all that work and didn't get paid. So there's a lot of times where we actually didn't get paid. But
how often does that happen for you?
For me, over the years, it's definitely it's happened. Or
ballpark me, 1 in 20, 1 in 50, 1 in 100.
Probably 20 times it's happened to me
in 10 years. Okay, that's low.
In 20-some years.
In 25 years.
Yeah.
Or whatever. Yeah. Okay. That's
Probably,
a good percentage then.
Yeah.
Well, it makes sense because, again, to highlight the fact that you really are working for this percentage, you are not getting to the closing table willy-nilly. There is some prep. There is some work. You've checked the numbers 7 times.
Yeah.
Oh, of course, there's always a chance, but I'm saying you are doing a lot of work.
Yeah.
To make sure that before we bother paying a lawyer at a closing table, that it's all good to go. Because, like, when we've done Kevin Stuman, shout out, Tri-City,
hey, Kevin.
He's been on here.
Yep.
Great guy, fantastic lawyer.
Yep.
When we get there, it's basically a 10-minute review of everything everybody already knows, because you specifically have done all of the work to make sure that this is done. This is a sealed deal. We are just signing on a dotted line because they don't accept DocuSign or whatever. And it's really just Kevin reading the thing that we already know. Like, oh, you already know you're paying this. You already know I'm getting this. You already know Stacy made this. You already know the other agent made this.
Right.
And here's just a confirmation, and here's the thing, and blah, blah. Did you bring the cashier check, or did it transfer 2 days ago or whatever? And it's all like, yeah, we knew this, we knew this, we knew this, we knew this. 0 surprises. Where do I sign? Copy my driver's license.
Right.
So that is one of those like unseen levels of work that you are doing.
Yeah.
To earn your pay. I mean, it's not like you're getting half the cost here.
Right.
And
right. But for every time that I go to do something with a client, we just don't know if we're going to get paid or not. And that's just something you have to, it's just like with anyone doing a business, contracting, tile, carpet, they're going to interview 3 people. Okay. Yeah. So you go in, but for the most part, if they pick you, you know you're going to get paid for that job. With us, it's like for buyers, not necessarily sellers now, but back in the day, some houses sat there for 9 months or whatever, and they may get tired. Okay, we're kind of stale, so let's try another realtor. You did all that work and then you get nothing. So
how does it work with law-wise, or maybe there is no law to say this, with exclusivity? Like if I say, Stacy, list this house for me.
Mm-hmm.
can I call 7 other realtors and have them all listed?
It's a contract. You have a contract. So you have a listing agreement between us, and it lists all the things that you can and can't do. And can't is going out and getting another realtor. So, and the can't on our end is I can't come to you as a realtor and say, hey, let me list your house when you've already got an agreement with another agent.
What
so
about
we're not
the rental world?
Or,
same thing?
The rental world.
Like if I got a house for rent and I give it to, I use Weston Woodall.
Same thing.
Same contract.
Same thing.
Okay.
Yep.
Now, what about the buyer side? If I'm like, hey, Stacy, start hunting for a house for me.
Yeah.
Can I call other realtors and say, start hunting for a house for me?
You can, if we don't have an agreement together.
Okay.
And that's where they're trying to get us to get those agreements.
Okay.
But we don't have to have an agreement until first offer. So I have to have that paperwork by the time you're going to put an offer in on something.
Okay, so
I've always done that, and I've gotten buyer's agency agreements prior to, but
they're all going to have to be prior to now, it sounds like, because you're going to have to disclose that I do not know if you're paying me 3% or I'm getting it from the seller. Right. So you need to be aware that we, as all the royal we of realtors, do not know anymore.
Right.
So you need to be prepared to shell out an extra 3% of your purchase price. If you are not prepared to do that, you probably need to lower your price point or adjust your
or figure
life.
Something.
Figure
something out. Right. Yeah. Because they can't. Here's another big thing to just shout out is they can't tie it into their mortgage. Mm-hmm. That amount cannot have anything to do with the mortgage. So the one thing they could do is the seller you could offer more on the house and then ask for closing costs. So they're still getting their dollar amount. And then the buyer, if they don't have the money, it can still be incorporated. But there's guidelines to that'll come up that we haven't gotten we have gotten the official ones, but everything's not set in stone until July.
Right,
so,
nothing's in place.
Yeah, so something could change from now to July. Yeah. I don't know.
And is it, I'm assuming July 1, it just goes into effect?
No, actually July is when they sign everything, but I don't think it actually takes effect until August something. But the bottom line is July is what everyone's talking about.
Oh, so July is like the legislators are going to sign this bill or whatever?
And then it has to go through. And so they said technically it's probably going to be November, but
it could not go through.
But in July, it's going to go through. They've already gone through three parts of it, and it's going to go through.
Okay.
Yeah,
there's zero chance it won't go through.
I mean, unless
I don't know how the government works, but it's not very effective. So I'm just assuming until it's in place, it's not in place.
But the judge has already the judge has already ruled on all of it. So now it's just the formality part of it.
And basically. Is this statewide or countrywide?
Country. Oh
okay.
God, country. Yeah, that's why you see so much. So these people that you see on social media, they're from all over the place, all over the country. So that's why you're getting misinformation because one state is different than the other state and all that.
Is this residential, commercial, or both?
That's good.
Because I know you don't really do commercials. So
but commercial, it's not the same because they don't advertise their percentage or anything. But it's residential. It's land residential, but they don't advertise their commissions.
So it's kind of morphing into how commercial's already been doing it.
Yeah, it's a little bit different. Yeah, they're a different animal. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, because I know a bunch of commercial realtors, and it sure to me sounds like if you're doing 2 transactions a year, that's a good year because they're massive and they take way more work.
Yeah,
but it's a smaller commission, but it's like of a $3 million office building, which is a way different beast than a few $300,000 homes. And for the record, if you're a realtor selling $300,000 homes, freaking go get them. I'm not shitting on you at all. I'm just saying it's just a different beast. It's just a different beast. That's all. If you're selling a 7-story commercial building in Raleigh, there's a lot more paperwork. There's a lot more inspections. There's a lot more hoops, but you're 2% commission of $7 million is going to make your year.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And so the commercial, they don't get a check for months and months and months, even possibly years, right? But when it's all said and done, they get that nice big check.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's where they get theirs. I've got one commercial property that I am doing right now because it's a past client. We've been working together since probably, gosh, going at past 15 years.
Oh, wow.
And she was like, I want you to be a part of this. And I had sold her a property that was commercial. However, it was minimal things that had to be done. This is, though, a major thing that I'm working on now with her. And I love it. I love that.
I'm confused. I thought it was separate licenses.
No.
Okay, real estate license is real estate license.
Absolutely.
And you just choose. Like, I want to do commercial or I want to do residential.
You choose, but because of the such differences, you don't want to go. I personally wouldn't want to go back and forth all the time. Like, I wouldn't want, but if an opportunity is there, so I normally wouldn't have done this. I would have just referred it out to a commercial person. That I
like
know.
you did that one time with me.
Yes.
Yeah, one time I was like thinking about opening something commercial, and you were like, "I got the guy for you," and he was great, but it just didn't work out.
I met you at the property, but it was downtown. You wanted your mom's art studio downtown, and you wanted to do the upstairs.
Oh, I'm talking about years before that when I was thinking about opening a brewery, and you just gave me Travis or somebody's number. I can't remember, but you were like, "I got the commercial guy for you, no worries." But yeah, when we looked at Fred's Furniture in downtown, I think that building's still for sale.
Goodness gracious, it's old.
I know. I want it bad.
But yours, because you couldn't get in and out access, right?
Yeah, basically my dad immediately was like, there's no back alley, so we can't cut a back door, so there's no emergency exit, so you'd never be able to put a comedy club in here. And I was like, well, then the dream is done, and let's freaking go to lunch.
Yeah.
It was kind of that simple. I was like, well, I hate to say he's right, but even I know the fire marshal's not going to let us have 300 people watch a comedy show with one exit.
Yeah.
Like that's a simple not going to happen. Yeah.
But so something like that, because you guys have been past clients, like now I feel like I know more about commercial than I ever have, but at the same time, I don't want to sell commercial. So if someone came to me and talked about a building in Raleigh, I would for sure refer it out. But this particular one was, it's still a lot of work, but it isn't excessive over anything I've ever done before. So I feel like, and I have one commercial agent that helps me with questions.
Plus the relationship of it being a past client is huge.
That's the thing. And it is not that I went to her. She came to me and said, you've done all my stuff. I want you. How can I say no to that? And I'm like, I feel honored that she asked me, and I was like, yep, let's do this.
I mean, we did the same for you when my parents did Arnett.
Yes.
We were like, we actually don't need you, but we want you to be involved because you're our person.
Right.
And, Adam Dickinson was selling it, and he's the man. I have absolutely zero qualms with Adam. He's very nice. He threw me free Bulls tickets once upon a time and even let me work on one of his rental properties as a GC. So, Adam's great, but we were kind of like, no offense, Adam, we have a person, and you got to bring her in and figure that out because we are loyal to our people.
And that's awesome. I think that is the greatest part of my job. Like, that is it. Because you guys are, I have groups of people, and I love that. Like, one, it tells me I'm doing something right. And two, I like getting connected with people. Like your mom, she gave me this book that's helping me wonderfully with my diet, by the way.
That's great.
She's been great. Like that book, she said, you've got to have this book.
I mean, is she not the thinnest person you've ever freaking seen at 70 whatever?
Yes.
I mean,
I went over there and I'm like, oh my gosh,
she looks great.
Absolutely. And she says she feels great, which
is all I care about. She looks amazing, and she, I've talked about mine a little bit, but like the foot problem I have is genetic, and she's got it, and it's way worse. And like she is moving around.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't think she was never overweight. Let's be clear.
I've never seen her overweight.
No,
Yeah.
she just is now thin.
Yeah.
And it's obviously just less weight on joints. And when you have a foot problem, gravity, everything goes to the feet and ankles.
Right,
And, if
right.
you weigh 5 pounds heavier, it all blah, 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 blah. And she's moving better and she feels better. She's got more energy. I know that she's sleeping a lot better.
Oh, good.
And that's just translating into benefits all around. And yeah, I mean, her diet it's unique. And in the beginning, I found it to be annoying and frustrating.
Uh-huh.
But then my eyes opened when everyone in Egypt got sick except for her.
Really?
And I mean everybody.
Oh, wow.
Everybody was like, oh, stomach's a little,
Uh-huh.
whether it was day 1 or day 6. And she was like, well, I'm only eating 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. And I also brought a thing of beans that I'm having people boil for me. And I was like, this girl brought her own freaking beans.
Wow.
And sure enough, 0 issues. And I'm like, okay, like clearly this is not just in her head.
Yeah.
And you can't fight or mock those results.
No,
they're real.
No, absolutely.
Yeah.
No, I'm glad to see what she's done. And yeah, she was so thin, and I was like, gosh, I thought I had good news with the few pounds that I lost, but then
you
she
do,
said,
and it's important, and it should not be downplayed.
Well, I feel a lot better, but the book has helped me, and there's this I went blank, cinnamon cupcake that I eat every morning that is from the recipe from this book, and it fills me up for so long, and I just couldn't believe. And so when I start reading this and it tells you the things that are in these ingredients, what they do, and the beans are a big thing too, which it's been interesting. It's been I've only been on it now for like 3 weeks, I think, but my whole system has felt different. So in a good way.
Yeah. I mean, 3 weeks, in my opinion, 3 to 4 even is the minimal where you really start to feel.
I feel like it's coming. Yeah. It's
and that's not necessarily even like pound shedding, because that will just come in time with healthy life.
Yeah.
Your body will regulate back to the weight that your frame is supposed to have.
Right.
But learning how just like, okay, I thought this food was the way I should be eating. And then, for me, what am I, 33 or whatever? And so it's like, you just get accustomed to the way you feel.
Yeah.
And you're like, okay, I feel like this, and this is my 100%. And great. And when you're a little down, I'm at 80% today. And then the next day you're at 100%. And then you change the way you're eating, and 4 weeks go by, and you're like, oh, this is what 100% feels like?
Right.
I've been living at 80% and calling it 100%,
right.
And there's just been 20% left on the table. And that 20% could be better mood, better skin tone, eyesight, more energy, less afternoon crashes, whatever it might be. All of a sudden, you just start to think like, okay, how many years have I been metaphorically shooting myself in the foot,
right,
and telling my brain this is 100% when in fact this is 80%? And it's just like, there's a podcaster who uses the analogy of health and your body to a car. It's like, if you don't change the tires, why would you expect the car to keep running the best way it's running? Like, if you need a transmission change, go change the transmission. Like, if you need to start not eating trash and start eating whole good stuff, do it. Like it, but
that's good that you've learned that though at a younger age, because it usually takes people at an older age when
something goes wrong.
They start feeling like, I loved my 40s. I loved them. And I felt good in my 40s and everything was great. 50 came and something changed. I don't know what it was. And then, I had a death that happened that, then you realize that you start living a different way. And my thing was food. Like, I was going to the wrong foods. Like, I'd always eaten decent, but not perfect. but decent. And then all of a sudden I learned that, man, your body can, it's not that I'm 50 some years old. It's that it's the way I've been carrying myself for the past 3 years that I feel like crap, basically.
Yeah, you're putting in fuel that's not
the wrong
good fuel. Yeah.
And so now I'm putting in the right fuel, and I'm feeling better. And
Yeah.
and so, ding, 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 the light goes off, and it's like, Stace, you can't go back to the way it was. Now all you can do is just keep moving forward. And I'll never be how I felt in my 30s, but
Hey, you never know.
I would love that.
I'm just saying. I'm not saying you're going to get your athleticism back from your 30s. I don't think it's possible.
Yeah.
But for
I
anybody,
could feel better.
but you could mentally feel just as good. And
Yeah.
once you've reduced significant inflammation and your joints start to not have the aches and pains,
that's a big thing. Yeah,
it is a big thing. Yeah,
is.
and I feel like health people probably are saying this now ad nauseum because it's becoming more and more of a common knowledge, but the majority of the quote-unquote SAD, standard American diet, is full of foods that cause inflammation. And this is not like conspiracy or Corbett's opinion. This is a fact.
Yeah.
Like, do the very, very most minimalist amount of research and you'll look it up.
Yeah.
And it'll be confirmed. And everybody has a body that acts differently to everything. But there are clear ties to foods that cause inflammation, especially refined foods, processed foods, sugar, a huge one.
Yep.
And let's be very clear, sugar is delicious.
It is.
Kit Kats are amazing. I am not some like flawless specimen that eats kale. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But,
My
at least be aware of it.
Yeah, be aware of it. And as my stepdad says, moderation is the key. That is it. And, I got him, we went over there last weekend, and I said, look, I'll go to Texas Roadhouse. They like Kickback Jacks on Texas Roadhouse. I said, I can get something healthy there, So we sit there, and I'm eating my grilled chicken with broccoli. And he's sitting there, and he's like, I just went to the doctor yesterday. And do you realize how much sodium, no matter where you go, no matter what kind of food that they put on your plate, it's just astronomical with sodium. And honestly, I know I didn't really think about that. But he said it is everywhere. And the doctors are like, so how do this is what I'm trying to figure out now, is how do I avoid that even in fresh foods that you get? That you cook yourself.
You have to cook.
Yeah, I think that's where it finally is the only way to, well, that was kind of sad to hear that, because we all like to go out to eat.
Huge fan. Yeah.
Love to,
There are still many things that you can do, avoiding pastas and breads. There's a lot of sugars in there. So go to your favorite burger place. Get it with a fork and knife or a lettuce wrap or whatever.
But do you think burgers, like the only burger that you love, do you think that they use a lot of sodium in their burgers?
I mean, do they use an excess amount of sodium? Probably not, but there's 100% salt in that ground beef mixture.
Right.
There's onion powder, pepper, salt, pepper, garlic powder, whatever. Yeah, I mean it's well seasoned and it's delicious, but there's also okay, so I might get the country wrong. Last my memory is cueing, it was Ireland. But I believe, and again, listeners could have the country wrong, they classified Burger King as dessert because the bread in a Whopper has too much sugar just in the bread. Mm-hmm. And this is not like what it turns into in your body. This is just added refined sugar in their flour mixture to make their sesame seed bun.
To do the bun, yeah.
That, according to Ireland, or maybe it's Scotland, again, I might have my country wrong, they classify it as dessert because in their health code or whatever, this much sugar means it has to be a dessert. Mm-hmm. So like a Whopper is a pastry by technicality due to the sugar in its bun. So just think about that when you're going to get a Whopper, which I'm a big fan of. When you're going to get a Whopper for dinner, you've had, not only have you had your day's calorie intake on top of what you already ate, you've now had enough sugar to have dessert, and then most people are going to get dessert afterwards. So it's like, it's also just kind of an awareness thing. Like,
Yeah.
I was simply unaware of that. Like, I'm not dumb. Fast food's bad for you. I knew that part already. But I'd never in a million years would I be like, so there's enough sugar in the bun in a Whopper
I wouldn't have thought
that
that.
it's dessert.
Yeah.
That's unnecessary. There's already 25 delicious flavors on a Whopper. We don't need sweet bread.
Right.
You know? But you can still go out. You know, my trainer / nutritionist, Brandon Woolley, shout out to Brandon, he preaches heavily 80-20. And that's 80% on it, 20% eat whatever you want.
Yeah.
But you could still go out and have sushi.
Yeah.
You know, there's that's pretty damn healthy. You know, the rice is not like ideal for you, but don't eat 7 gallons of rice. Have 2 sushi rolls with somebody and, you know, whatever.
2? Can't do 2 sushi rolls.
Why not?
2, are you talking about the little, or are you talking about
the whole roll that's like 10 pieces.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Like a roll is like 8 pieces of sushi.
Okay, sorry. I can't just
You meant like 2 single No. We're not models here. We're real humans. We
sushi
need...
to me is like the chips. You can't eat just one. Like,
no.
I love sushi.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. I mean 100%. I mean, I had literally had sushi Tuesday. Yeah. Jen and I went out to get sushi and we split 3 rolls and edamame. And we felt, you know, satisfied, very full. We did no dessert. And, you know, it was fine, you know, great fresh fish. One of them had avocado. I think one had shrimp tempura, which obviously fried is not good, but like, okay, 2 pieces of shrimp were fried.
Exactly.
Split between 2 people.
Exactly.
You know. Yeah. But to clarify, Jen and I, and we discussed this yesterday in our little couples check-in, we went to Chicago together.
Yeah.
We didn't eat one healthy thing for 4 days. We ate just trash. I mean, Polish dogs on white bread, frozen French fries, Chicago beef sandwiches, cheeseburgers. We got pastries once or even twice a day. I mean, it was bad. It was bad. Neither one of us said no to any of it. And the next, you know, we get back from this 4-day trip. I feel like death for 2 straight days.
Oh, my goodness.
And literally on our check-in yesterday, I was like, I'm not doing that again. And she's like, what are you talking about? Like, we love food. We're foodies. Like, I'm not going to be in a relationship with somebody who, like, doesn't want to eat this good, delicious food. And I was like, we need to rein it in. We need to, like, go to that famous cheeseburger spot and split one and then go get a salad. Like I just can't do it. Like the 4 days of fun was not worth how horrible I felt for 2 days. I mean, the first day back, I just had to sit on the couch. I was like so taken out of it because I guess like the adrenaline and fun of the trip, I didn't feel bad consuming any of it.
Yeah.
And then it all caught up to me and I was like, wow, I just undid like 3 months of work for 4 days in Chicago.
That just tells you right there how food controls your body. Seriously, it's true what they say. What you put in your body is what it is. That's amazing because you've been doing so well, and to take 4 days, which I need to talk to you about Chicago. I'm going to Chicago in August for Lollapalooza.
Okay.
For my daughter.
Very cool.
And it's at Grant Park.
I would have no idea where that is.
Okay, where did you guys go? What did you go there for?
So, Jen has people there.
Okay.
And she worked at like Yellowstone National Park in college, I think. And so like the friends that she made there are lifelong friends. And I think 3 of them or 4 of them actually, whatever. She has a bunch of friends who live in Chicago. So we were like, let's just go to Chicago. And I was like, okay, cool. Sounds great. And so we were going to stay with one of her friends, and then the last minute she couldn't, so we ended up just crashing with another one of her friends, which was funny. But we literally just tooled around, mushed around, and did, you know, we just ate.
Whenever.
Yeah, we were on buses and trains all day, but it's public transit left and right. Their transit's amazing by comparison to here. Actually, their transit's probably just amazing, period. But here we don't even really have any, so it's super amazing.
Yeah.
I mean, we could get across the city in 40 minutes on a bus, a train, and another bus, and we got this like 3-day pass for $15. It was perfect.
Oh, cool.
And you just boop with your phone, like it's really convenient. But yeah, I mean, we were just eating delicious food, all these recommendations from like 6 or 7 different people. I mean, people I know, people she knows, like telling us to go to this, that, and the third, and we ate it all. And then we went to a Chicago Blackhawks game. They were playing the Hurricanes, which was awesome.
Oh my gosh, I think I did see that. I didn't realize though you were there.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, I wasn't even putting the two together. They were playing the Hurricanes while you were there?
Yeah.
Oh, that's
it wasn't
cool.
It wasn't a away game for the Hurricanes. That's why they were in white instead of their home black or their home red.
Cool. Yeah.
And they
I love that.
It was very interesting for me as a sports fan because Chicago had been eliminated from the playoffs weeks before, and Carolina had made the playoffs weeks before. So literally both teams playing for nothing. Yeah. There is nothing on the line. The Canes could not catch up to the Rangers to get first place in the league.
Right.
But they were already in the playoffs, and Chicago, like I said, had been eliminated. So it was like, I wonder, like, in my head, I was like, are they going to play the backup goalies? Like, are they going to rest their best player? Like, I'm curious. I mean, it was super, super fun, and I just love hockey, and it happened to be a Canes game.
And that's so cool.
Yeah, Chicago has a very nice arena. It's where, like, Jordan and the Bulls play also, or Jordan played, but the Bulls still play, so it's a multi-purpose arena like PNC.
Yeah.
But it's way bigger. They have this whole giant atrium to the side. Their parking is massive, and it's like right in downtown Chicago, and it's right there.
That's where Grant Park is.
Okay.
That's Grant Park's here, which is closer to like the water or whatever. And then that is there because I did notice. I was looking at the map at what's around that downtown
it's right by the arena.
Yeah.
Okay, that's cool. Well, then we were there for the game, and then we got out of there. We got picked up, and when we got Polish dogs at this famous Polish hot dog place.
Well, and it's good that you had someone to stay with because, good Lord, I've been doing the Airbnbs. Oh, my gosh, it's so expensive.
Yeah, I don't know if we would have gone if we didn't have a place to stay.
Yeah.
Just because, and I'm not even against Chicago. There's just so many other places I would want to go that I haven't been. I've been to Chicago a bunch of times, but like when you got a free place to stay and like, we did, we hung out with the person who was putting us up. She was kind of like, I feel bad crashing whatever you're doing in Chicago. And we kept looking at her like, we're not doing anything. You want to go to this cafe with us? Come on, let's go. And she was like, sure. I was like, let's go. Like, you're not third wheeling. You're a saint for putting us up.
Right.
And she had 2 cute dogs and whatever. And then her other friend is very cool. Her other friend, her fiance or boyfriend, whatever, is a sports announcer.
Oh.
And his first nationally broadcasted game was on TV in Texas. He was commentating for I think Rangers versus Astros or whatever. I know it was Astros. And so she threw a party at their house in Chicago. And we're all listening to him.
Oh, that's so cool. Yeah.
And so I had never met him, so I don't even know what he sounds like. But the other announcer, because there's 2 announcers in baseball, the other announcer was AJ Brzezinski, who's like a very famous ball player. So I was like, I know what AJ Brzezinski sounds like, so I'm assuming it's this other dude. And they're like, yeah. When AJ says, I agree, Colin, it's Colin. And I was like, oh, that's so cool. And so we had like a little baseball themed party at her little apartment or whatever.
Nice.
So that was super cute.
Yeah.
And then we only really did one touristy thing, and that was we took like a 9 a.m. architecture boat tour where they just like take you up the river for 20 minutes and then back for 20 minutes, and this middle-aged architecture nerd is just like, and this house was built, or this building was built by whoever, and this building was built by whoever, and we had the Chicago fire in this year, and Windy City is because of politicians. We're not actually windy, and blah, 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 and all this stuff. And her humor was really dry and hilarious, and I loved it. And Jen loved it. And so
cool.
I highly recommend that. It wasn't even that much money, and it's super fun.
Yeah.
The river's beautiful. And
it looks like it is.
But I think Chicago is fun. I mean, there is an unlimited amount of fun to happen there. Yeah. And food, oh my God. I mean, we like Polish dogs, Chicago beefs, all cheval cheeseburgers. We went to the famous Garrett's popcorn place. Food at the hockey game, food at this baseball party. I mean, Jen and I, unfortunately, after this health conversation I just had with you, are still sugar addicts. So it's like, where can we get some pastry to split and pretend we're here for the coffee, but really we're here for the croissants. Yeah, I mean, chocolate croissants are our weakness. And yeah, so just, you know, we just ate our way around the city and walked 6 miles to attempt to burn it off, but it didn't work.
I was going to say, I'll have to walk through the Lollapalooza thing or something.
Throw on your Apple Watch and make sure you're getting 12,000 steps.
Yeah. Well, that'll be in August and it'll be really hot too.
That'll be gross.
So,
yep.
Yeah, it's going to be, maybe it'll take my appetite away.
Yeah,
that'd be nice.
Maybe.
You know?
Yeah, well, this was just a couple of weeks ago, so weather-wise it was actually perfect.
Probably, yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I wore a jacket, I brought a hoodie that would fit under it, and I never wore them both.
Yeah. No, this will be, but she talked me into it. She loves concerts. That's her big thing. So I'm like, she doesn't do sports. So I'm like, well, okay, if you're not going to do sports and you love concerts, you love music, let's go that route. So,
I mean, you might be the only mom there, but you're going to have fun.
Yeah. Well, and I'm taking a friend. So actually, though, there's 180 bands.
That's a lot.
It is a lot, and I do know a lot of them. And that part's actually going to be knowing the days and stuff. My daughter's able to figure all that out, and I was like, "Tell me when such and such is playing." So there's going to be good ones that I'll like, but
that's great.
Then there's going to be me just sucking it up as a mom and dealing.
It's going to be somewhere your daughter's like, I've never heard this song, and you're going to be dancing your ass off. And then you're going to be at some like younger group, and you're just going to be like, this isn't music. And your daughter's going to be like doing some crazy dance with her friends and be like, well, at least she's not into drugs, right?
That's exactly right. Yeah. Like, if it's just music that you like and you want to go to concerts, I'm good, you know. She is taking me to see Justin Timberlake in June.
Is he coming here?
Yeah, he's coming here.
I'm assuming PNC.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, that makes sense. He's a big, huge sellout.
I know, but
name.
I'm okay with that one. Like, I'm going to enjoy that. But usually she has a friend that goes with her, and I just kind of am there. I'm just like the mom. But I just took her to Charlotte a couple nights ago to see someone, and there might have been one person that was as old as me, but I don't think she was even as old as me. And I'm like, oh my gosh, this just takes me back. Like, it also, when I take her to these things, it reminds me of how I was back, not at her age, because my mom wasn't taking me to concerts at that age, but just, you know, as a young person going to concerts, I loved it. I absolutely loved it. So I'm glad she gets to experience that.
That's awesome.
Even if I'm like the only mom that's in there hanging out. And, you know, kids, like, this place is in Charlotte. If you've ever heard of the Music Factory, it's a whole strip of.
I haven't, but I'm actually going to my first Charlotte concert in a month. But I don't remember where it's.
This was at the Fillmore.
Gonna be, unfortunately. I have to probably.
You need to tell me. It's because the Music Factory has the Underground and it has Fillmore.
PNC Music Pavilion.
Okay, and see, Spectrum is right down the street too. They're all in that same area, so you're going to be in the downtown area.
Yeah.
And this is, it was so cool, but you know, you walk in and it's just, it took me back. It just, I like the feeling, but the kids are just, and it's adults too, obviously, but, yeah, it's a different world for me. But anyhow, yeah, it was, concerts are her thing. But when you said Chicago, I was like, yeah, I'll be going there. And I've never been to Chicago. And I'm from Pennsylvania. You would have thought that I would have been in Chicago at some point in my life. But nope, I've never been. So
I was fortunate enough that my mother's business took her there a lot for this trade show. And so I've been going to Chicago actually quite a bit.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, we could probably gab all day between music and Chicago.
I know, right?
So to recap, Willie Bear's here for the recap.
He's coming back for the ending here.
It goes into effect. No, it goes through the vote, I guess, in July. Potentially affect, you're thinking September, November.
Yep.
And if you're buying and selling a house, just make sure that you're paying attention to the details because they're changing a little bit. And if you know, as always, you got to know, love, and trust the person that you're going to work with. And if you have a good relationship with your realtor, this should be upfront and very clearly explained. And if it's not, call Stacy Slone.
Absolutely. And even new people that I'm meeting, I have to do the same thing that anyone else is going to have to do and have that conversation with them. And if they don't like me on the first go around, they'll go to the next agent. It's going to be the same thing. They're going to learn that agents aren't going to work for free. So somehow we all have to make this work together, because buyers are still going to need houses. Sellers are going to still need to sell. That part's not changing.
Yeah,
so.
that part's not changing.
Yep.
Well, Stacy, as always, it was a pleasure.
Yes.
Thanks for coming into the
Thank
studio.
you. I enjoyed it.
When
I love how we don't just talk about real estate.
No.
There's all kinds of things.
That would be boring
you
in
could
40
chat
minutes. We
about.
got between Paul Rudd and Chicago.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm going to watch Freaks and Geeks.
Freaks and Geeks.
Yeah,
Yes.
I got to pull that up.
I think there's 2 seasons on Netflix or whatever.
Because you named all the people I love. So, yeah, I got to see them.
We love the same
young,
shows. Yeah.
As young people.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We used to bond over Shameless. Be like, don't tell me what happened.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, that's going to go down as one of my favorites for
It's up
binging.
there.
Yeah,
it's up there.
That's it.
For sure.
Yeah.
All right. Well, we'll wrap it up there. Thanks
Okay.
again for coming. And
Thank you.
all right. Bye, everybody. Go buy and sell a house.